Hey everybody, this is Robert Wheeler with White Bone Knives. Today we're going to show you how to make Kydex sheaths. And this is the knife that we're going to put a sheath on today. I'll show you an example. This is one that I just finished up and decided I'd make a video since I had everything all kind of in order. I'll also tell you guys some tips and tricks here and there and what makes a good sheath and basically all the steps on how to do it. So you can see here, this knife comes out pretty good, nice and easy, snaps in really nice. I'll hold it here, doesn't rattle, doesn't come out on you, still pops open really good and snaps shut. So that's what we're looking for, and basically it's not too bad. You just got to do a little bit of fit work here and there, and what you're gonna need is 80 thousandths. Or no, wait, no. Let me see here. Take my calipers. Yeah, I was right. 80 thousandths Kydex. So I think it's size 8 or 80 thousandths or whatever they say on there online. And then you're also going to need some 8/8 rivets, and you can get these from knife kits or whatever. You can get the Kydex as well from knife kits. These rivets are 1/4 of an inch and on the inside diameter, and they're just black. They're painted black and they look really nice. You get a pretty nice finish on them. Another thing you're going to need is a rivet set that you can get at knife kits as well. I think this is like around $30 or something like that. You can also do this with a hammer and get them on there really well, but I like to have the nice riveted tool. That way you can get really good consistent ones every time, and some people do with the hammers and do really well with them. I just chose to do this so that way it kind of takes out the improbability of having a bad rivet or something going wrong. I've never had one turn out bad with this. I haven't even tried the hammer, but I know there's guys that do, and it works out well for them. So depending on what you want to do, you know, it's all up to you, but I can definitely recommend this set that I got from, I think it was Knife Kits. So, well, I guess we'll get started. So basically, you're going to flip your Kydex sheet on this side, so where you have a shiny black side, and then you're going to pull out a Sharpie, and we're going to mark the area around the knife. So just go like that, and we'll add on a little bit more. You basically want to keep an inch on each side and maybe an inch on the end. That gives you enough room for the rivets to go in, and you won't have any problems. So we're just going to cut this one out with our utility knife here. So we'll just go ahead and score it like so. Score it up here. Alright, so now that we scored it, there's a deep line that gets cut in there. And then what you're going to do is break it upwards until it snaps like that. And then we're going to do it to this side too. So now we have a piece that's good for one side of the sheath. And now we're just going to take it, trace out the other side. So use the same piece. Now we know we have 2 equal sides. And we're just going to score this one out. Okay, so now we have 2 equal sides, and we'll show you how to go ahead and heat them up. Alright, so here we go. We're going to be using a George Foreman lean, mean, fat grilling machine to heat up our Kydex. You can also use a griddle, you can use a heat gun, toaster oven, whatever, as long as you don't burn it. I always keep it on the lowest setting. It takes about 5 minutes to heat up for this particular machine. So, I like it because it has two sides that it can heat. I always place my Kydex shiny side down. That way, when I close it, they'll sit on the bottom and there's no chance of burning the nice outside part of the sheath. So if you happen to slightly burn the inside, it's okay. I haven't burnt one yet though. But I always keep it on the lowest setting. So I'd probably go with the lowest setting on whatever you're using to heat it up with. I'll set it about 5 minutes. But just to show you, basically every Kydex sheath should be a form-fitted sheath, because this is all going to get heated up, and then once it does, it gets soft and pliable. So right now it's, you can bend it, but it's not like rubber. When it gets heated up, it'll actually be kind of like a rubber feel to it. And it'll be real floppy, and it'll form to anything that you have. So we're just going to go ahead and heat these up, and then I'll show you a little bit more about my press while that's going on. Alright guys, here's my press. I just took a couple boards. This is really easy, it's just simple. A couple boards and a hinge basically lets me open it up and close it. And on both sides here, there's two pieces of closed cell memory foam. I believe I got mine at Knife Kits. You can get it anywhere. You can use seats that you get at football stadiums or something like that. It's just this really squishy material. This stuff has held up through, I don't know how many knives I've done, probably over 100, and it still works great. So it's not too expensive. I think one whole square might be 10 bucks or something, and then when it wears out, you just get some new ones, but it lasts quite some time, and it does a really good job. So when that Kydex gets heated up, I'll place one sheet down, and then the knife will go on top of it, and then one more sheet, and then I can close it. Alright, while that is still heating up, what you can do is take some masking tape, and we're just going to take 3 strips and put it on each one of these sides of the knife. When you do that, this allows for, make sure you have all your oil off there so it actually sticks. Alright, so I'm just going to wipe that off. And then just put some masking tape on. Try not to get any wrinkles anywhere, because that will show up on your sheath afterwards. So I do at least 3 layers for mine. And this creates a space between the Kydex and the knife. So if you get grit in there or anything, it won't scratch it up near as bad. So okay, that side's done. And then now we're just gonna put 3 more layers on this side. I used to use duct tape, and then I switched to masking tape. It seems like the duct tape was just given too much space, and I was using 3 layers, but you might be able to get by with 1 or 2 layers or something. I like the masking tape though, also because it doesn't leave such a harsh residue, and it's easier to get off. So 3 layers works still pretty good for me. I don't get any scratches. Comes out pretty nice. So alright, now we have the blade all taped up, and what we're gonna do is just take a razor. I have just one of these little X-Acto razors, and then just kind of stick it in here and then go around the edge. But alright, there we go. We have no wrinkles. There's a little bit extra right there. So okay, there we are, and now we're ready to heat it up and put it in the press. So alright, as we're heating up, you can see that it's starting to get pliable, but that's not there yet. We want it to be really floppy, I guess. So we're just going to leave it in there for a few more minutes. Alright, now we're getting to the point. We waited a couple more minutes and it's pretty flimsy, pretty floppy. After it's to that stage, I let it go about 1 more minute just so it really soaks, gets the heat in there, and then that just makes it easy. So you bring over to the press and actually get it clamped down really tight. So I just wait 1 more minute and then we should be good to go. Alright guys, when you're ready to finally pull the Kydex out and put it into the press, you want to do it as fast as possible and clamp it up as fast as possible. You want to have a good secure clamp. I use a vise. You can use a C-clamp if you want, or some sort of other grip clamp. I like the vise because it's quick and easy to do. So I'm just going to do this and then bring you over to the vise and show you what I did. Alright, put the shiny side up for that side, and then put the shiny side down for this one. Make sure it's on there even, close it, and then you're going to come over here. Sorry you couldn't see that, but it's pretty self-explanatory. Then you just come over here and you're going to put your press in your vise and then just tighten her down really good. And that's basically all I did. I just had to get over here quick so it would set properly. And now we're going to wait about 5 minutes to let it cool down, harden back up, and then we should be good. While you're waiting for that 5 minutes, you can come over and do another sheath. Heat it up, and after that George Foreman is heated up, it only takes about 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes instead of 5 minutes to get it nice and flexible. So you can do another sheath, or form fit another sheath while this one is cooling off. So, alright, we're just going to wait 5 minutes and then we will be back. Alright guys, it's been 5 minutes, so now we can take our press out of the vise. Just be careful to keep it closed so your knife doesn't drop out of the bottom. And I'll bring it over to the bench here. Okay, so now we gotta check it. I open it up, and it's hardened up good enough. It's not flimsy in any way. You want to make sure that if it's still flimsy at all, put it back in and leave it in there. And another thing you want to check is on the sides, and you want to make sure you have enough rivets. And I do my rivets about 1/2 inch away from the edge shown on the Kydex. So it looks like we got plenty of space to come out 1/2 inch, and then your Kydex rivet is about 1/4 inch extra. So you got to account for an extra 1/8 inch on that side of the 1/4 inch line, or the 1/2 inch line. So basically this one is ready for rivets, and then we can cut it out, get it down close to size, and then start rough grinding the outside. Alright, so now we're going to begin marking out where we're going to put the holes. And to get a nice secure fit that does not fall out easy and does not take too much pressure to put in and pull out is what we have to try to achieve. So I like to place my first dot where the hole will go about 1/2 inch away, and this is a bit by feel, but I go a little bit below this ricasso. So imagine a line running right here that's going to be taken out of your sheath. So I try to put it, about maybe halfway in between this ricasso, maybe a little bit below it, level with this plunge line. So I'm going to go about 1/2 inch away, place my first dot right there. Okay, so now we're going to take out a ruler and just go every 1.5 inches. You can also go every 3/4 inch, but I just don't find that many rivet holes necessary. I go every 1.5 inches because the tech locks are designed that way. And if you don't know what a tech lock is, it's like a snap-in belt clip that goes on your sheaths. So if I have my holes lined up 1.5 inches apart, they use their holes at, or they set their holes in that clip at 3/4 of an inch. So you just space it 2 holes, and then you could attach this to a tech lock. So we're just gonna go another 1.5 inches, put another dot, and then another 1.5 inches, put a dot, and this is when you want to maintain that distance of about 1/2 inch from the edge. I'm just eyeballing it. I've done it for a while, so I don't really mark it out. So once you get down to the end here, you're going to get close to the tip, and then we have to decide whether we want a single dot down here or 2 dots. I basically just decide that based on looks, what I think would look best. But so we'll do that here in a second. But I take my blade, or I line my blade up with me, and I say, okay, well that's vertical to me, that's perpendicular to my body, so I'm going to come up here and make a dot square with this one, and square to me with the original dot that I placed. So now we're going to go along this side, and we're going to go 1.5 inches. Alright, so now that we're at the bottom, let me just fill these in with a red dot for you guys so you can see it a little bit better. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see that a bit better. There I have my dots on there, all have about 1/2 inch away. And then down here at the bottom, I have to decide whether, like I said before, if I want a one hole down here or 2 holes. For this one, I think I'm going to go 2 holes, and that's because I think when I put 1 here, if these two dots right here are pretty close to the end, then I'll put a single one, because then it's not so steep when you cut it. But for this one, since they're back a little bit further, we're just going to go down here and just place 2 dots. Like so. Alright. And now we're going to take a punch and hammer. We're going to punch a little dent in each one of these marks. So I'm just going to take a punch. Go right there. You don't have to punch too hard. You just want enough to leave an indent. This is going to help your drill bit from walking off the edge and not drilling where you don't want it to be. Okay, so we just did that all the way around. Another thing you might want to check though before you do any of that is on your back side that your pieces line up correctly, because if you have your bottom piece off just a bit, then you might drill, this side might look good, but when you cut this all out, the other side might be off, and you're like, oh no, half my sheath is gone, and I don't have space for a rivet. So just make sure you check that, and then you'll be fine. So, alright, now, since, Kydex has a tendency to stick to each other after you have molded it. It sticks a little bit, but now we're kind of getting it to where it has some play. So what we're going to do is take a little clamp. We're going to take this Irwin Quick Grip. You can use anything, whether even, I don't know, just something with a soft jaw that you can put on here. Make sure it's not going to move on you. It's in the original position. And come right here and clamp it down. This assures when we drill that it's not going to, it won't come out of place, or its original place. So now I'm just going to put my block down so I don't mess up my bench, and go ahead and drill it. If you have a very sharp drill bit like this one, it doesn't take much pressure. Sometimes it likes to kick on you because it's so sharp. So, okay. Drilled a hole. And now we're going to drill one more on this side because we still need to take the knife out. I kicked the drill bit up a few RPMs at the end to remove all burrs around that Kydex. So we're going to release our quick grip, and now we're going to pop a few rivets in there. Alright, so now we're ready to pop in some rivets, and we're going to use that die set, that rivet die. And so I'll take a machinist vise with a little wedge right there so that I can set this down into it and it'll hold it. So I'll just clamp that in just like that, and then I'll take this side and chuck it up into my drill chuck. Alright, and then we want to leave a little bit of space between here and there, so I'm just going to take my drill press and go down a bit. That way we have plenty of room to get our sheath in there without scratching it on this little tip here. So alright, now we're going to take out some of our rivets. Right here, I got a whole bunch of them. And you're going to want to see which way this knife sits on your hip. So, let me just show you here. Hopefully you can see me. The knife is going to sit like this on my hip, so I'm going to put a rivet in this way. That way the outside is the nice side right here. So the outside has this nice edge that's not going to be pushed in by the rivet die. Alright, so there, that's the side that's going to be rolled. And this side is going to be the outside of the sheath that's facing everybody. And then once that is set in there, we're just going to place our rivet right there. Oh, and before you do this, make sure it comes down and aligns perfectly. That way when you just come over here, you just set it in, give it a good tug, and there you have it. And it's set. There's no splits or anything. There might be a little bit of an extra roll, but that's okay. As long as it doesn't split, we're in good shape. So we're just gonna put another rivet in this hole, and we're good. So now that we have those two, we can take our knife out, just like that, and set our knife to the side. We're back down at our bench now, and now we're gonna start drilling the rest of the holes. And I do this like, I kind of want to do this as a, think of a tire. When you take off lugs on a tire, you want to go alternating. This way you don't shift your sheath at all during the process and then have a rivet that's not going to go in, or go in at a very steep angle and then distort your sheath. So this is flat right now, but sometimes it can distort the whole thing if you put in a rivet that's really, really tight. So we're just going to go ahead and put another one of these in here and come up to our die and set that rivet. Okay, so then I might do one here, and then there, and then there, and then there, and then there, you know, and so on. So we're just going to keep drilling. Actually, I might do one down here to prevent a lot of that warpage that could happen. Not saying that warpage will happen, but it might. So we're just going to put one down here, snap it in, and press it. Okay. We'll do one over on this side. Snap it in and set it. So okay, now we're at a pretty good point to where it's not gonna move around hardly much at all. So we're just gonna start drilling in the rest of these holes and we should be good. So there we are, we have all our holes drilled, and now we're just going to fill in the rivets the rest of the way. So I'm going to bring you up there so you can just see that. Alright, now we're going to fill in the rest of the rivets. So we're just going to keep putting them through that show side. Now we have all of our rivets in, and now we want to cut off this excess edge. So we're going to use the bandsaw to do that and get it done fast. Alright guys, now that we're down in my basement at the bandsaw, I apologize for the lighting, so I'm going to have to use a flashlight here. But it's the only thing I can do to show you guys. But what we're going to do is cut this outside edge, and we're going to leave, we're just cutting off the excess. So when we go to grind it, we don't have to grind off that much. And we're going to leave about 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch of space past these rivets. That will give us enough room to have a nice look and, well, hold it together well. Another thing, when working with Kydex, I strongly suggest you use eye protection, and more importantly, goggles, because Kydex does not form dust when it cuts. It forms these little tiny curls of material. So if you can see that right there, it's these little tiny curls of plastic, and they stick to your hand incredibly well and anything you have on you. So if this little tiny piece of plastic Kydex curl gets in your eye, it is a pain in the ass. So be careful, use eye protection, and try not to itch your eyes anytime during the process. I'm starting to feel like I have Kydex in my eye already, and there's nothing there. So just a disclaimer there, keep your eyes free of this nasty stuff. So put your goggles on, and then if you want to, you can mark the outside of this just to make sure you don't go into the rivets at all, but I'm going to go ahead and do it without. I think I can handle it. I've done quite a few Kydex sheaths, so we're just getting the excess off anyways. Alright, we're going to go ahead and do that. Alright, so now that we got that side out, you guys might notice that I went in a little bit right here, and that's because some of that's going to get cut out. Now, if you're not comfortable with taking that out with the bandsaw, you can just do it with the grinder later, and I'll show you how that's done. But I like to cut out a little bit of it, that way my grinder doesn't have to do that much work. So we're just going to cut out the other side now, and this top piece, and we'll show you what that looks like. Now we have our Kydex all cut out, and if you can see here, both of the ends are hollowed out just slightly, and then the end is cut off, and now it's ready for shaping on the grinder. So we'll head back up there and get out of this dark basement. Alright guys, I just wanted to show you that even if you think you got all this Kydex off your hands, you can see there's little flecks of it just here and there everywhere. And especially underneath your ring, you'll get pieces as well if you have one, all on the back side of my hand, and there's going to be more on the grinder as well. So just try to keep yourself clean and just don't touch your eyes. It really sucks to get those pieces in your eyes, so just be careful. But now we're going to go ahead and shape this sheath right here, and we're gonna just kind of come in right here on the grinder and hollow this out. Now there's a section right here on the sheath that is going to hold our knife in, so we want to leave this part right here. We want to leave a little bit of space right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and grind it and show you how far to take it in and how much to leave, because that right there, for this particular knife, is going to be pretty vital to its performance. So, and then we're also going to do the same on this back side right here. And this side doesn't really matter as much, but right here by the finger choil is where it really counts. So I'm just going to go ahead and take some of that off and show you how it's done. Be sure to put your goggles back on and protect your eyes. Alright, and as you notice, when you grind, you start to get this little black goopy crap, and that's just all the Kydex that's melting. You don't want to get too much of that. It's kind of a pain in the butt, but just don't burn your fingers. I'm using my fingers, but I'm not pressing on it too hard. But yeah, so we're going to take a little bit more off there and kind of get pretty darn close. You want to see, well, let me see here. You want to get that gap right here a little bit more open. So we're just going to keep grinding here a little bit closer and then try to open it up a bit more. Now we're getting that gap to come up a little bit further. If you get this Kydex, this excess Kydex out of the way, I'll show you a little bit better. Okay, so now that is coming along pretty nice. Check and make sure you can open it just a little bit because it's going to need that. And then, so this side is looking pretty good. We might need to go over it a little bit more, but now we're just going to round off that edge and then round off this edge right here, and then do the same for the back side. Alright, now that we got both sides pretty much done, the back side creates a thumb ramp, so you can easily pull it out. You get some leverage with your thumb. And then right here you can see that these sides are not equal. So now we're going to make those nice and equal and even, and give it a bit better of a look. Alright, there we go. Now they're both equal. It's got burrs everywhere, but that's fine. You just kind of pick those off throughout the whole process. That way they don't get too overbearing. See right here, it's getting kind of bulking up through there. So we might need to hit that a little bit more on a grinder, and then we don't have to pick at it so much. Okay, there we are. Still got some stuff in there, but we can take that off with the X-Acto knife later. It won't be that big of a deal. But now we're just going to use the flat part of our platen and just go along these rivets to take it down to them. And I'm going to leave about 1/8 of an inch of Kydex on the thickness of those rivets, just on the outside of them. So we just want a little bit of thickness out this way. And to do that, I'm just going to take one section at a time, and I'm going to make this side flat between this rivet and that rivet, and then I'm going to go here and make this section flat, and then this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. And the reason I do that a section at a time is because well, for one, it makes it flat, and two, it also prevents one certain area from heating up so much, and I will get some burrs that will form, but that's okay. I mean, it won't be too much because there's not a lot to sand off. And by the way, the belt that I'm using is just an old worn out 60 grit belt. You can use pretty much any belt as long as it's got some grit to it, something that can shave off the Kydex. You don't want to go too high of grit. Try to stay with a low, 36, 60, anywhere in between that range. I would say anything less than 100, and 100 might be too high. So just anything with some grit, and then just pull it off on there just like that. Notice how it started to jump on me? It's because we're getting too hot right here. It just builds up, and it's not really going to ruin anything. It's just kind of a pain in the butt to get off, and you see it just kind of peels off just like this. Just don't burn yourself. If you break through that outer skin, then it does get pretty darn hot. So, and this hardens up pretty quick, and you can just shave it off after you do the other parts of the sheath. Alrighty, so now we're pretty much at the point to where everything's taken down to about 1/8 of an inch outside those rivets, and we're getting pretty close. So now we're just kind of going to go over the entire thing and get all these little nasty burrs off, and try not to heat it up very much, and just get the just get that little excess off of there. And a lot of this stuff you can just break off with your fingernails. Your fingernails are, I think, harder than Kydex, so they don't really tear up my fingernails, at least. So get off as much as you can like that, and then if you can't get it, don't waste any time and just try to buzz it off with the grinder. Okay, now most of those burrs are off there. We're just going to go around and pick it with our fingernails, just like I said before. You could also use just a razor blade or something if you want. It doesn't really matter, I just kind of like to get them off there. Alright, now we're just going to take our utility knife and just kind of get some of this extra Kydex off of there. It's just getting in the way, and we want to kind of check the fit of our knife. So I'm just going to come along here like this and get rid of that just excess junk. It's also kind of nice to just break the edge, because then when you put your sheath in, it's not a complete flat 90 degrees edge that it's trying to go in on. So I'll just take the edge of this and just kind of skim it off. You don't have to make it too crazy or anything. I just like to cut off those little curls just like that on each side. And we'll get in here close to this, the entry point. I like to take off a little bit more right there. Come down nice and neat. On each side. And it just widens that gap a little bit more right between there. Alright, so this is the first fit check that we're going to try. And it's a little rough. A bit rough. And put it in a couple times. And it'll loosen up a bit over time, not much. And we want to keep that good retention there. And the masking tape actually is fit in there so tight that it actually creates more friction. So when that tape comes off of there, it will be a lot better of a fit. It is still a bit stiff, so we might want to take off a little bit more in here. You can also manipulate that area by taking it off more on the grinder. I'm just going to try to shave off a little bit here with this utility knife. And it's also important that your knife doesn't have any sharp edges right here when you are pulling the knife out, because then it will scrape the Kydex and pull some out with it. So you want to try to round those edges off just a hair, just nothing to let it bite. So we're going to put this back in. Fits in pretty good. It's a little tough to take out, but as you can see here, the masking tape is getting kind of stressed out. It's ripping there and everything. That's because the fit is so tight. So when that masking tape comes off, it'll be a lot better. But now what we're going to do is go ahead and go over to our Scotch-Brite wheel and clean up these edges. As you can see, they're kind of rough. They got a lot of marks on them. It's just not very attractive, so we're just going to go ahead and do that. Alright, now we're at our Scotch-Brite wheel. We're just going to take our sheath, and as it's running, I'm just going to pull up as it's running. You know, I'm going to just pull up really fast, and that will make a nice, uniform, even line across this whole surface. It'll round the corners well. It'll round this corner and that corner. We're just going to hit the whole thing. Alright, so that gave us a lot better of an edge on there. It looks a lot better. Cleaned it up, and we're just going to finish it. Okay, there we go. All sides are nice and clean. It's got a nice, smooth, soft edge along the entire outside. So now we're just going to go back to our bench and just clean up any little extra burrs that may have formed on the Scotch-Brite wheel. Okay, and now here we are. You can see just like little tiny burrs that get left over when you work with the Scotch-Brite wheel. The Scotch-Brite wheel will actually take off a good amount of material, so you want to be careful and you want to go fast, but look how much that cleaned it up. Looks a lot better, and it's much more uniform, just looks better overall, and you won't get any rough edges on your fingers. So we're just going to take this and just kind of go along those lines and just kind of soften all the edges. Alright, so that looks pretty good. I might just clean up this little corner here that got raised. Alright, so there's our sheath. And now we want to take a bit of precaution of putting our knife into the sheath, because this sheath has not been cleaned out. If you were to take the tape off and put your knife in here, you would most likely receive some scratches on your blade, and that's not what we want. So we're going to start our air compressor and just blow this out and get all that grit out of there possible. Before we do that, we are going to drill a drainage hole as well on this sheath. Some guys form them by putting a little tube in here. I just do it by cutting a hole. And that'll also aid in the cleaning of the sheath. So what we're going to do is just take a punch and put it at the very tip of this, or right where the tip of the blade should be. So I'm just going to put this right here. So right there is where I put the hole, and I'm just going to take a 1/4 inch drill bit and just kind of, well, just push it through. Okay, there you go. So now we have a drainage hole, and you can check to make sure that it will do okay. Putting your knife in the sheath, and you see the tip. So the tip lets you know that you have plenty of pocket space for the water to actually fall out of the sheath. So now we're going to go over to our air compressor and blow this out. Alright guys, now that we charged up our air compressor, we're just going to take this spray nozzle and just kind of get in there and blow it out. Sometimes I like to close one gap of that drainage hole and then the other with my finger. That blows any of the extra sand grit out of there that we used on our grinding belts. Alright, so now that it's blown out, it's pretty much ready to go, be detailed or whatever. So we'll go over to the bench and check to see if it fits. Alright, we do have one more step before we check the fit, the final fit. And that's just to remove this tape and kind of clean up the blade. And that way there's no residue on it and nothing will stick to it, and especially grit, and really scratch some things up on the inside. So just kind of take that tape off nice and slow. That way too much of that tape residue doesn't come off with it. And just kind of be careful. If you pull too fast, it'll leave a lot more residue, and then you could possibly tear it, and it's just kind of a pain in the butt to get off. So, okay, what we're going to use now is some acetone. Feels really good in the cuts on your fingers. So, I'm just going to put some of this on a rag, and then just kind of come along here and just wipe it down. Get that tape residue off there so nothing's going to stick to our blade. By the way, this knife has not been sharpened yet, and there's a reason behind that. So when you form the sheath, it's not down to the very, very edge. And you can make sheaths for unsharpened knives, or I mean, you can make them for sharpened knives. Just maybe tape up the edge a bit more, and that way you can have a little bit of extra room in that sheath for it, or maybe wrap the tape around the edge like this. But yeah, this one is not sharp yet, and I do that because of fit problems that you can have. It's just, you wouldn't really have too much fit problems. It's just an extra precaution to take, an extra step that you got to do, which I don't really have to, so I'm not going to. But now that this is wiped off and there's no more residue, we're just going to put it in the sheath. And it looks like it fits pretty darn well. Comes out really easy, fits in, shake it, it don't wobble. There's a little bit of sound, but that's just the blade going back and forth like this. If you shake it that way, there's no sound. And it's not going to come out on you. That's why I like Kydex so much. I like leather sheaths too. I don't think one is better than the other. A leather sheath usually comes with a strap that you can strap over the side, and it's a great sheath. You know, the feel of leather is very nice, although the feel of Kydex is very nice. It has its own properties of each, you know, pros and cons. Some people say Kydex is really loud when they go hunting, but, you know, after you kill something is when you're getting your knife out to skin it, or, you know, whatever. To me, it's not that big of a deal. I've had my knives in the woods with me before when they had Kydex sheaths, and they weren't making any noise. And I know I might get some beef about that or whatever, but, you know, it's just my opinion. Take it or leave it. So, here the knife is, or well, the sheath is all finished. We're just going to put some paracord lacing through here now, and I'll show you some pictures of that. Okay, we're back, and I'm going to show you how to lace the paracord on the sheath. That way you can have multiple carry options, and plus a nice looking front. So first of all, we're going to take our paracord and just cut off the end. With this razor blade here. And we're going to get this end, keep this end from fraying by heating it up with a lighter. Careful not to burn yourself. I kind of sink it in so it's easier to thread. And then you're going to take about 5 foot of paracord, cut it off, and just keep that other end from fraying. You don't want those ends to get too thick, otherwise they're kind of a bear to thread through here. So, okay. Now we're going to put, this is going to be the front, so this is going to be the laced part. So through here, we're going to put one through there, and the other side through here. Pull them out so that they are even. Pull the tips and then pull it out just like that. And then we're going to take this line and go up the back side into this hole, just like this, and then this side to go up that side. So now we have a vertical belt carry system. You can put your belt loop through here, and then the knife will sit vertically on your belt. So now on the front side, we're going to take our right side line and loop it through this right here, and we're just going to make like a lace pattern all the way down. Just like so. And then this is where you might need like a little tool to just kind of poke through. And basically I'm just going to hold this side tight and then push this one through. It's a pretty tight fit. So just pull that on through, and then you're going to take this side and then go through here. Okay, here we go. Now it's pretty tight. We're just going to tighten up everything that we have so far by pulling it through. And just kind of tighten all the paracord. Just take one little section at a time. Okay, so now it's pretty tight, and we're going to take this side, put it through here, and this side to put it through here. Alright, and we're going to flip it over, and put one through this side, and the other through the other side. Sometimes it can be a bit tricky on getting them through those holes, so I like to keep those ends as small as I can. So okay, pull that through, make sure it's tight, and then now we're going to put them through these holes right here, and then the last two holes. So okay, now we're going to tie the back side. Basically you can do it however you want. I kind of like to just do like a little square knot or something right there on the back, and then I will pull it down here, and just kind of make a little loop. It's up to you if you like that little lanyard on there or not, but I kind of like it, so, and my customers have liked it on there, so I leave it on. And then we're just going to take these ends off. So where's our little blade at? This one might be sharper than that one that I have. Okay, so we cut those off, and now we're just going to take a flame and harden the ends. Keep the flame moving, that way you don't burn the ends. But you want them to be nice and nice to have a little nice and uniform is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, there you go. So you have a knot. It's not going to come undone, but you can still undo it if you need to, and perhaps tighten the paracord if you like. If you want this carry system to be a little bit tighter or loose, depends. It's up to you. But the way I do this is that you can have a belt go through this way or this way. And I know this side is a little small, so usually if I get a request to do like a scout carry, you know, sitting sideways on your belt, then I'll make these rings a little bit wider. I mean, right now you got about maybe 1.5 inches between these, and you could always loosen them up a bit. So even if I don't get that request, you can still undo this just slightly, and then give a little slack in there, and that'll fit around your belt, and then tighten it up once it's on there. So you got a cross carry or vertical carry. This way or this way. And it's up to you. Depends on what you want to do with it. And, well, that's about it, guys. Another benefit to the paracord is that if you're using this for a survival knife, you like it to have for that backup, you do have about 5 feet of paracord on here, which can certainly help in many survival situations. You know, you can cut the paracord up and have the small strands, make a one long line, or just use the big line itself. But that's about it, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Leave any questions or comments in the section below, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.